guys, we're here.
Less
Yeah.
one.
We were just
Stuck on a toilet in Egypt somewhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Egypt. Have you ever been to Egypt?
I haven't actually.
No, me neither.
Oh, did you see that thing about what they found below the
I did.
pyramids?
It wasn't.
What's that all about?
Yeah. If anybody hasn't seen this yet, get Googling, guys. It is phenomenal. The phenomenal sounds like the guy from South Africa. Remember, magnificent. Xander, if you're watching, which I know you're not, but your wife is, as we learned. So anyway,
hopefully she hasn't got into bed yet.
That's good. I like it's funny meeting people on the other side of the world and they actually listen to the show as well, isn't it? There's not much time difference. I think that helps with South Africa, but there's even people in funny countries. I must come back to that funny countries. Oh, that's just such a stupid thing to say. Sorry to people from funny countries. I'm not going to list them, but you know who you are. Oh, Mike, is your mic on?
My mic's on. I can't believe.
Sorry, Pete.
Sorry, Pete. We got so excited.
Recording now. Sorry, Pete. It's the 8th of April. I made a mess of that. 5 minutes into it, Brady. Oh, shit. Okay, wait there. Sorry, Taylor. My mic.
Funny countries talk.
My mic. Sorry, I haven't plugged my mic in. Bloody hell.
You can tell we've been away.
But yeah.
Hey, at least we don't have buffaloes 6 inches behind our shoulder going.
My sound is gone now.
Oh, that's because you plugged your external mic in and not adjusted your earphones. This is amazing. Guys, to everyone who's out there on Facebook, brilliant that you've decided to tune in and see what we're up to. I'm quickly going to go on and to see who's there and what the comments are, and hopefully actually I'll turn the sound off before that comes out live.
I'm back. I've got it sorted.
You can hear us.
Oh, that was stressful. Oh, what a stressful start. Bloody hell.
Guys, if you're viewing, say hello. You can share what we're doing. It's a very impromptu show tonight because Nick is stuck in Egypt, as you probably heard. And we thought at last minute, we'd do a little bit of, what's going on in the world? Yes, you were saying about Egypt.
The big pyramid. And there's an engineer who's been floating around. He's written a couple of books. And he's been saying for years that the Great Pyramids are something to do with energy, something to do with power. And it's a power plant of some fashion. And of course, as with all new, fresh, awesome ideas, they're ridiculed. But like the guy is a top engineer, and no other engineer can tell you how those things were even built, those 72 blocks across 500 miles of valleys, and it's not possible to do it today. How do they do
little rollers across the sand dunes?
Some logs. That's how they rolled a 70-ton perfectly straight granite block, and they fit. You couldn't get a piece of paper between them, and there's millions of them. They just built it with a mound, and there's physical facts that they can't do. So you can't pull with a rope a block of a certain size up a certain degree slope. So it's all this sort of stuff. Anyway, he's been saying for a while it's a power plant, but check out what LiDAR is now showing is underneath those pyramids. It is, I hope it's true, because so many reputable places are now reporting it, but it's like the pyramid is just like the cap, and there's 6 massive posts going deep down into the earth, and there's a coil all the way around it, and 2 massive some sort of blocks the same size as the pyramid underneath the ground. So far deep down there that the idea that a caveman built that with a pick, is just
quite a caveman.
Yeah, well,
it's like 2000 BC.
4,000 years ago. It wasn't far off picks and shovels, So if what it means for anybody, the short of it is that we would be much older than we think we are, and that would be because that would have necessitated a lot of thinking, a lot of science to put all that together. And what is it? What's it for? Because they never found any bodies in it. There's nothing to suggest it's a tomb. It just suited the narrative we had at the time. So, very interesting stuff.
It was, and what got me is that we were out on the night safari, just checking out the Milky Way in the stars after a few beers.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And you opened up with this salvo to the guide about these things, and I was thinking he's going to think we're way out there. He's going
Ah,
to,
yeah, probably
what's
did.
going on? Skulk was his name.
School.
Excellent guide,
Oh yeah,
absolutely excellent
yeah.
guide.
Skulk had some of his own ideas though
Yeah,
about things where it's like
and then he
we're on the
just
same
then
page.
suddenly came and said, "Well, did you realise that actually not that far from where we are, they found these concentric rings of stones
Oh yeah.
that actually they could tell that as they walked through the what was it, the electrical capacity gained each time they went through another ring of the stones to the center,
Oh
and
wow,
actually this was ruins." This wasn't even the thing as it was built. So he said that there was a whole load of stuff
I heard
on,
about that at the time.
you
That's
know,
nuts. That was in
wow.
South Africa that they found that.
Yeah, he said it wasn't that far. It's
Ah,
either it's not South Africa or just north of
just
South
country
Africa. He's
close.
just saying all sorts of stuff to do with
Yeah,
transportation, and there's just so much stuff that we don't know. And I think it was there was some talk. I can't remember whether it was you or him talking about, let's face it, what would be left after
yeah,
4,000 years for us?
yeah,
If we all just went now, what would be
yeah,
left behind?
yeah,
What would degrade? What would stay? Although I do think there's a lot of plastics that might just give us away.
yeah. A few Mars bar wrappers just floating around. People were here. Yeah, there's always a Mars bar wrapper.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
nappy, a few nappies. I don't know that's about it.
Are you giving away your chocoholic?
Still
I
office.
thought there'd be a plastic wrapper of Cadbury's mini eggs.
Yeah, no, that plastic is degrading very quick in the sea, very
Is it?
quick. And now we've got fungi and all sorts of things eating it in the sea. So
All right.
there'll not much left of
Okay.
that. Phones will be gone, your chips will be gone, your photographs, your memories, nothing. What do you think is going to be
Your
left after?
memories.
Nothing. Yeah,
Our memories are already going.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's why they chisel them into the rocks, because it's one of the few things that's probably going to last a test of time. And then they bury them as well. So they have these huge Göbekli temple in Turkey, which is like this 11,000-year-old temple. They weren't supposed to be that old because they were supposed to be total hunter gatherers then, and they built this incredibly complicated temple under the ground. And they dig it up and they don't want to talk about it because it throws all the years out. It's kind of like saying fresh food's pretty good for the pets. It's like at the time when everyone's dry feeding, nobody wants to face it. Now they've found that's just at the top of a mound. There's loads of those temples and tombs underneath. Well, not tombs, but temples, all talking about the stars and point to the stars. All very, very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows?
We're talking about diets, and then we sort of like the history of raw feeding. How far back does it go? I think there was a bit of competition between Nick and Anna as to which old flaky book could they
Oh
find with
yeah.
the oldest reference to what is it, 18? I think Nick was winning currently on 1867.
Show them the photograph of Anna's How to Feed a Dog book from the 1800s.
Oh, can I find that? Let's have a look.
Didn't talk about feeding them 60% carbohydrates, strangely.
No, didn't,
No,
did it?
no, that was weird.
They did talk about making broths out of some meat and veg if the patients were sick.
Ah,
But
I want to get my hands on that book. Imagine a book from the 1800s. I wonder what it feels like. I wonder what
toilet
it
paper.
smells like. Yeah. I mean, did they have the same paper as us back then, or was it like skin?
Yeah, what am I going to do? What's the easiest way?
It's in the RPM Africa.
Yeah, no, but I think it's probably better to share it to the screen.
So yeah, she had this old book, and Anna and Nick were having a competition. Who had the oldest reference?
Look at this. Anybody who's scared of spiders?
What one was that again? I remember you taking that picture. I was really
That was
envious because I couldn't get it on my camera.
That was the tree bark
Tree bark
spider.
spider.
What was it called? Oh,
She looked okay. She didn't seem. She said, "All if you see a spider in a web, it's a girl."
yeah.
I didn't
Did
know
you
that.
not know that?
No, I kind of knew male spiders didn't have much of a say in the whole spider world. I kind of knew about the Black Widow story. It's just a frightful end.
Yeah.
If he manages to even get there, but most of them don't.
So there was a couple of books, but she did find this one. But there is a great book in Swedish as well, apparently.
That was even older. And then Nick trumped it. What they were looking for, guys, was Nick and Anna were having an information off, and they wanted to see what was the oldest reference to carbohydrates fueling fat in humans. Because we're only coming back around to that realization in the last 5 years. Talk about old learnings, you know what I mean? And we're only now coming around again. But yeah, so Nick said he has one from the 1840s.
Yeah.
And someone has a book there that I'm not going to call it because I'll get distracted. But yeah, that's someone from the 1840s.
So this was the one that I think
Look
Anna
at
managed to
that.
pull up. So
Diseases of the dog and how to feed. That's so cool. For people listening on podcasts, you're looking at a very, very old looking book.
do you like this? Presented by the
Yeah.
author.
Yeah, nice. Is his first name Duh? His second name Author. He's only going to be a writer. But
No,
so they knew.
I think the actual it's is it H. Clay Glover?
Okay. I don't think it
That's
really
just above
matters.
that.
Oh yeah.
By
Well, they've
H.
known
Clay
for
Glover,
200 years
veterinary surgeon.
that carbohydrates fuel obesity, and I just think that's quite staggering that we managed to get rid of all that information and become stupid again, and then start pushing this carbohydrate nonsense again, which you covered significantly in your talk in South Africa. That was very good. It's very funny that you borrowed some of Nick's slides, and then Nick's like, and then he's doing his
With his
talk.
permission.
Of course he did. Of course he did. I was in on the joke, but my God, Nick milked it on the day.
Didn't he?
He even pulled up his slides as if, oh, I was going to show these slides, but Bren has stolen them. Oh, there's the next one. It was very funny. But I saw him. He had stolen, not stolen, it's the wrong word, but I'll use it now because Nick used it first. He took one of my images of a dog chewing a bone, which I got from someone on Dogs First. I had asked for her permission. Picture of a cattle dog, chewing a bone. Can't remember your name. Sorry. What's your name over there? She's a brilliant nutritionist, but beautiful pictures she takes. Anyway, Nick took my photograph. So once he was slagging you off, I was just waiting for that photograph to come up again, and I was going to let him have it, but it didn't happen. So he escaped. But his talks were nicely delivered. Yeah, it was good.
Almost just like he was
searching for the
inspiration.
words. This Shakespearean thing that he
we love him for this. But
yeah, I envy his presenting style. He delivers his points very slow, like a David Attenborough, like a young David Attenborough. And I just
I loved at the beginning where you said, "Now I'm going to talk with purpose and deliver my talks so that you can follow every word." And then you went straight into your.
I said,
and everybody was just like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah, hang on. I mean, I was sweating. It was just, but like as I was, it was the first time that it's not the first time, but it's definitely now concrete that when you're talking to an audience, that these guys are now in the intermediate stage. There's very few beginners, and it's kind of tricky to know how to present information because for people like you might have young vets in the audience who are totally new to the conversation. So if you skip some of the basics, they just go, well, he is an omnivore, so you could have replaced that with plant material. So it's nearly like it's tricky when you come into it's hard. You want to give very detailed stuff, but at the same time, you kind of that's I found that hard to tread. I found myself giving a few of the slides going, next time we do this, we're going to have like a set half a day for the newbies and then a full day for the intermediates maybe, and we can separate them out that way. That would be
because it was really hard, wasn't it? It was that mix between pet parents, sort of paraprofessionals, so all of the nutritionists and dog trainers, dog walkers, all of those people with excellent and store owners and things like that, to then veterinary students who obviously come out thinking that they've been taught by God and that nothing shall contradict what the professors have said.
Right.
All the way then through to vets who are sort of interested in what was going on and wanted to maybe do a change, to vets who are totally disillusioned with current status quo of the veterinary world. So, just a whole range of people, vets who are actually out there doing holistic medicine that wanted to know more about raw food feeding and the intricacies of integrating that as an extra into what they were doing. So, and do you know what? An outpouring of gratitude from all levels was just amazing. And thank you guys for everybody who came up and said how great they thought it was and how informative and everything else, from all of those echelons. It was great to be able to deliver to you guys. As I say, it might have been more comfortable to probably separate it a little bit and
Yeah, we packed it
do
in.
that. But
We put too much on ourselves. It was our own choice. I probably forced that more than anybody, but it was like, 2 days of solid talking, 8 hours and 8 hours. Like by the end of it's really 10 hours because you're on there before and you're on after.
yeah,
So it's
we
actually
were.
12 hours when you add it up because we're there till 8 o'clock at night. But 10
Yeah,
hours of formal talking to the stuff at the end is fun. That's easy. But
tell you
uh,
what, I slept well.
oh man, yeah. And as soon as you go home, you might have a refreshing nightcap, and then but that's it. You just go straight to bed, and then you're up again at 6 o'clock in the morning. So as fun
I love
as
your
it,
definition of a refreshing nightcap.
yeah, yeah.
3 nights we got through 40 beers.
No, I didn't. That's not. That was just the beers. They were the they were the aperitifs. That was and all the lines were on my page for some reason. I don't understand that. It was one of those not free bars, but honesty bars where you
Honestly,
put a
buzz.
little page there. Oh, that's my favorite sort of
did,
bar. Oh my
did you
god.
start seeing double?
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Just doing doodles that were costing me like, well, €1 a bottle. That's okay.
Yeah.
Um, but listen, there is a number of things that I'd love to touch on tonight. But one of the things
Mm,
that, in case we don't mention it later, is that Anna's talks were amazing as always,
mhm,
and we're going to get to a couple of those cool points that she made. She makes some stellar points, and even though I've seen some of those not talks, but I've seen some of those studies before, there's so much data. She has so much data, and a lot of her data comes from this initially 8,000 people responded. That's up to about 12, 14, 16,000, she thinks, respondents to this really long questionnaire, detailed. So the people who did that, fair play, because it takes half an hour, 40 minutes to fill out the whole thing. But the information a researcher can get out of that is unbelievable. So Anna's group, who are operating on a shoestring, we pushed them good and hard this year, and the Raw Feed and Veterinary Society, as we should. Anybody out there who's not a member of the Raw Feed and Veterinary Society yet, get in there. It's a
mm.
good group. It's fun. It's easy. Come in, learn a little bit. So I highly recommend it. But Anna's dog risk, and she is now running that survey again. So this time, because after 10 years, you look back, I wish I asked this, I wish I asked that. So this time she's going to spread it even further. She wants different countries involved. So she had a lot of Finns, a lot of UK, Ireland, because we were here, and a little bit from the US. And then a similar study from the US came out from Nikki Kamek and co. So this time she's looking for people to help her. So this is an appeal to anybody out there that might be from a country that is not, Ireland, UK, Finland, US. We have South Africa covered now. Australia, maybe. So anybody that's not in those 5 or 6 countries where we have a little bit of a sway, anybody else in countries like Singapore or
Hong Kong,
it's Hong Kong, Eastern European
Indonesia,
countries. Yeah, that's it.
Indonesia, that
From
side of things.
Portugal to Russia, whatever, we need a couple of people from each country to contact Anna. You can go through us if you wish. You can drop us a line, drop us a message, or you can contact Dog Risk yourself, okay? And you can just reach straight out to our team and you'll get a response. They are looking for 1 or 2 canine nutrition-y type people in there who will help Dog Risk with some very simple questions. They're going to ask, what's your local group? What's your local food? Every country has different things. The Irish and British will call it black sausage. In Finland, they'll call it black pancake. And so when she's structuring her food questionnaire, she wants to make it for locals. She's no point putting in all these Western foods if you're in, rural Nigeria. Those foods aren't going to apply. Which carbs you use, which meats you use. And she just wants to get it straight. So when she does the questionnaire, all those foods are in the questionnaire. So you guys have the maximum ability when it comes to releasing this questionnaire again, and it's coming soon. We have the right information. So please contact Dog Risk, guys. If you're from anywhere that you think you might be able to help, and go, hey, I'm from Portugal. Would you like some help with the questionnaire? And she'll shoot you over 2 or 3 questions. You just fill them out. It won't take you 5 minutes, but it would really help with the questionnaire. It'll make the information even more robust than the stuff she has at the moment. So the data we were getting from it was unbelievable. So I really hope people listen and help out with this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I was always amazed by Anna's talks, and this again, for the range of people we had in the audience, from pet parents who knew nothing and were staggered alongside me, staggered by some of the stats and what Anna was drawing from, to we had medical researchers and statisticians in the audience, and when this little beauty came up,
Yeah.
they just went into Oh,
yeah,
wow!
that was
I
a
know
gem.
exactly what that means.
Yeah, that was a gem.
I was
Scatter
like,
plot for people listening on audio. Or this is Brent's just popped up an image of a scatter plot. A lot of little circles on the top half. They're kind of orange in color, and on the bottom half they're blue, and they're radiating out from a central point. There might be maybe 30, 40 blue circles on the bottom, and there might be 20, 30 little circles on the top. What is that scatter plot about, Brent? What are we looking at?
oh, well, so you've got everything on here where you've got effectively the interactions on the metabolome and how
What's the metabolome?
so that's basically how you metabolize your body's chemistry and effectively get benefits from that. So whether that be energy, whether it be new growth, whether it be hormone
Hormones
changes.
or
So all of this is sort of
inflammation?
like genetic. I'm probably totally hashing this,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
pretty much this talks about inhibition, which is the blue areas, or expression, so extension of expression by activation in the orangey zones. So you've got these two areas, and they just star almost in a star field outwards. Talk about how they're changing, various properties, and the degree that they will affect them is the length, I believe, of the line,
Oh,
and then
right.
the exactly what they're doing is on the spots at the end.
Yeah.
So you've got whether it's stopping or starting processes, whether it's, as I say, just what's examples
I'll give you.
on
I have them here. Okay, so this is the effects of raw feeding on the metabolome,
yeah.
and it does things like uh, re- so it promotes or reduces. So it is promotes neonatal health, promotes hyperketosis, promotes localization of protein to wherever you need it, promotes non-steroidal fatty acids. Uh, reduces like homocysteine, doesn't promote homocysteine, promotes the permeability of blood-brain barrier, permeability of blood vessels. So it promotes all these beneficial processes. But then
Mm.
in the dark orange at the top, what it stops is like the generation of hydrogen sulfide and like it's the cytotasis of leukemia. What is that? Cytotasis of
Um,
leukemia cell lines. Um, and look, it's going to make more sense in a while had we prepared this a little bit better. Oh, when she was describing this, it just made so much sense.
yeah, I mean, it was that. What was it? The cytostasis. I think there's that one, isn't it? That's
Cytostasis. What does that mean? I think she just made that
of
word up.
leukemia cell lines. So
Yeah.
it's basically looking at that cytostasis. So it's basically
Are
putting
you
them into
Googling?
hibernation rather than making them
Yeah.
um, hyperactive.
Well, when she was describing it all, it was like because she was just off the, but she would mention the inflammatory markers, and she goes, "So raw promotes the promotes the inhibition of that inflammatory marker. This is not helping people." Because the next, I'm not sure. Are you guys still there? Edwin is looking for the contact details for dog risk. Edwin, if you just type in dog risk, yours going to get there. DOG or ISK. There's only one dog risk, and you'll get to dog risk, and that's their research laboratory. That's their website, and you can just contact them through that. The next graph after that, Bren, was a series of bars, and she was talking about why raw feed seems to be might be protective against cancer, and she said like look at all the harmful compounds that are more prevalent in dry fed
Mm.
dogs. This canurine, which I've never heard of in my life. What is canurine? Homocysteine, which is your inflammatory markers. You don't want too much of that. We know that's being promoted. Cadesi change. I don't know what Cadesi means either. Do you know that? Is that something from your kind of gene world?
So let's have a look. What's on that list there?
Like some of those things are good things, but then methionine negatively associated with methionine. That's not a good idea. Negative associated protein. It's not a good thing. You want to be positively associated with those things. So
Yeah. And there's lots of stuff on there that she was just so positive about all of the levels that you would have
Yeah,
on this, and said, no, it might look like it's a negative, but actually, in the greater sphere of things, the other things that come on are showing that it's got benefits, and actually we've got to rethink about what we actually want to be happening within our metabolic system. So
yeah. We are butchering your slides, Anna. I hope you're not
yeah.
watching. So sorry
She
about
never watches. It's fine.
that. Let's listen. Talk about her diabetes bit. That was a round of applause
Oh,
she got for that one. That was
it
phenomenal.
was. She's done a. Is she? Are we allowed to say this? I
Yeah,
don't know. She
because it
hasn't
was
published
only
it
a
yet.
little case study. It's
Yeah,
only
it was a
one.
case study.
Yeah,
That's fine. Phew.
yeah,
So basically, she got herself. So some of you may have seen the Zoe app where you plug on a glucometer, and then as you eat, it monitors what you're doing and it looks at your glucose readings. And you can get these for dogs. You have to adapt them slightly to understand the actual glucose reading because they have a different binding of glucose to the hemoglobin than humans do. So there's some slight adaptations to be made. But they're really great for monitoring diabetic patients, especially when you're injecting insulin. For owners that are often put onto a specific diet for diabetes. So something that is a low glycemic index diet. So basically, supposedly releases glucose slowly.
what would that
And
diet look like, Bren? That's normally recommended.
cardboard.
Yeah,
Sorry, did I say that out loud?
yeah,
Something that's usually very high fiber
yeah.
and sort of looks a little bit like this.
And does it taste as good as that piece of cardboard that you're holding up?
And it usually produces quite a bulk of feces.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and
And how much
it is
carbohydrates would normally be in the dry food recommended for dogs with diabetes, do you think?
it's pretty high
30,
because
40%,
obviously it's not
15% fiber?
always refined starches. Often there's a lot of the starches left over that some people would associate with packing materials. But we're not allowed to
Cellulose?
say fillers,
No.
so we'll say that they are basically high fiber foods.
Yeah.
Um,
Corn
and just
gluten pulp,
oh,
beet pulp,
And we've got to come back
cellulose.
to high fiber because you've got
Yeah.
to answer a question because you've been doing a lot of
All
research
right,
on
yeah.
fiber. But so we'll go through all of that, and then you still will have some issues because dogs won't eat it. It's really poor palatability. It isn't always a nice smooth transition of release of energy. They can end up, yes, losing loads of weight. Then you've got the confounding bits of if they're losing weight, you think that's great, but then you've got adjustments in dose because they're losing weight. You've got glucose going all over the place still.
All over the place. That's what the
And
monitor does.
literally, yeah.
Mm.
So she showed standard high processed diets, glucose definitely all over the place, high
Yeah.
peaks, low troughs,
All
all
through the
across.
day. So the
Yeah,
monitor shows you the peaks. It takes a reading every
yeah,
2 minutes. And so it's up and down like a cardiogram,
yeah,
just all over the line. Hard to find an average.
yeah,
Very messy. From the very high, where anything above that is very dangerous, to the very low, where anything below that is hyposhock.
yeah.
So it really was all over the chart in a normal diabetic dry food fed dog with
Mm.
insulin.
And then with the same monitor on, she transitioned dogs onto the diabetic diet, and we still got a smoothing out of the curve, brilliant,
Yeah.
but we still got huge excesses and decreases, and it wasn't really as controlled as you would hope because you are monitoring constantly. But they were happy because it was just about
Just
staying
underneath the
between the
max,
lines.
just
Okay,
above the minimum,
yeah.
many
Uh,
times during the day.
yeah,
I mean, not just
and
was.
and so they were sort of like saying, "Look, that's good control."
Yeah.
And then she blows it out of the water with the next slide, and she said, "However, if you transition them to raw food," and literally she showed it
So
was almost
the dog flatlined.
yeah, it was just
Yeah.
like there was no worry about glycemic, issues. There was no sudden rushing of glucose up the charts, and actually, she said to the point where you can stop giving the insulin.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and
That
that
was my
was
next
like,
question. So as a vet, when you're seeing that and it's extremely even, I suppose the next question is you start to taper off the insulin a bit because you don't want to keep on giving insulin if you don't have to. So how little insulin can we put in this dog? So
and I guess
it's
that's
so clear.
individual, isn't it?
Yeah,
But this comes back to a couple of my talks where we were talking about the inflammation and ultimately the cause to many of our diseases, which are just a result of GI inflammation,
yeah,
exacerbated around the body systemically to a lot of the autoimmune diseases, of which one type of diabetes can be one, especially if it's destroying the cells, the islets of Langerhans that
yeah,
produce the insulin within the pancreas, through to pancreatitis, through to renal disease, through to arthritis, through to dermatitis,
yeah,
all of these inflammatory conditions which can be related to what you're eating. And so actually, you've obviously got to do this under veterinary advice. You should consider, can you start tapering that insulin if you've
yeah,
reduced all the inflammation and you've got good stabilization? Absolutely try and reduce that insulin dosage.
yeah. It's like it makes perfect sense. It's what you hear when people go to raw, and I think you can still debate over what's the ideal diabetic diet. Some people move to raw. Sometimes some diabetic dogs seem to do better with a little bit of carbs in there when they were reintroduced. I don't understand that, but I know there's a girl here in
Just to
Ireland who
counter
takes
the insulin dose.
this what.
It's just to counter the insulin dose.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Yeah, there's too much insulin gone into this dog. Feed it carbs. It needs sugar. Um, so yeah, but
Back to the Mars bars.
there's a girl here, Julia. If you're listening, it'd be great if you jumped on. But she gets diabetic dogs from pounds and shelters and stuff where they've no hope, and she looks after them. So she's an absolute legend for it. And she says the same thing. She goes, "No, most of the time, just bang them onto raw, and everything's great." She goes, "But now and again, some carbs need to be administered." She goes, "Doesn't know why, but I just know this dog will do better with a bit of carbs," and it did. So I just found that bit interesting. But for all the diabetic dog owners out there, feel free to comment and tell us what you're currently doing, because nobody knows more about the feeding of raw to diabetic dogs than people with diabetic dogs. So yeah, I loved some of those points Anna was making, and it's, for the amount of money that her research department gets compared to what could you imagine what could be done with a twice the size team and 5 times the budget. It's not even then. It's not huge money. These are tiny pennies compared to what the candy companies are spending through normal veterinary departments, and it's you're up against a huge wave, but it's clearly working for us, and people are making the leap themselves. They're not waiting for the studies anymore, which is good. I think we've told them enough. If you just go and live by the studies, there'll never be enough studies for you. There'll never be enough evidence. Oh, we need more evidence before we change. That game will never be won. So, but yeah, definitely we're speaking to people that are already converted, because the crowd, the cheers when you saw the line that Anna produced for the diabetic dog, like, it was so obvious. No study was needed. It was a case study by someone who knows what she's talking about. Shows us a glucose monitor. She goes, "Prove me wrong. Stick a glucose monitor on the dog." I mean, any vet can do that. Stick a glucose monitor on the dog and give us the readings after a day on this diet. Show me how well the dog's doing. Simple science, very good stuff. Anybody can do it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
And actually it sort of provoked, because we touched on, Nick did inflammatory. Look, we did the basics.
yeah.
Let's put that to
Benefits, bugs, bones, some
balance.
balance. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And we sort of went through that. You did a bit about supplements and choosing good supplements
yeah,
from that side of things.
yeah,
We then had a few things on IBD, renal disease. Crystals. I did at
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I
uh,
needed to hear that.
Johannesburg.
You need to
So
record that, Bren, and you need to get that up somewhere. The information you put out in the 45 minutes, like the 4 or 5 different types of stones, how they're formed, where they come from. Most of it, I was sitting there listening to it. It made such perfect sense. It's like, oh yeah, I get that now. But it still gets confusing because you, as a non-vet, you can easily trip up over the stone you're looking at and what they might do.
mhm.
You need to get that information up somewhere. Stick it up on Patreon or something, because it's
Maybe
just
I'll just get you to put it up on your den or something and just
yes, that would be the best place for it. Stick it up on drconnorbray.com and I can just charge people a fortune for it. I'll be
for
rich.
my information.
Yeah, what else do you know, Bren? squeeze them out. So yeah, that talk was very interesting. I was very
Yeah.
glad
Can I just? Can we then just keep any income below the taxman's
Oh,
radar?
no problem. I seem to have a great specialty in doing that. Sadly, that is not by choice. But do you know what? Nick had a couple of good slides here. I've just got them ready. I took a picture of them, right? But Nick was doing bones, and I was thinking, what's he going to tell me that I haven't heard? And he made the talk really interesting. And it's you got to remember half the audience know exactly what bones to be feeding. So, but he had some brilliant studies that I didn't know were out there, and they've been released in the last 4 years. It makes me think there's some people studying raw feeding in dogs that we haven't even met them just because they speak a different language. People in Germany don't know who we are. People in Kuwait are doing so. We don't know who they are. We were just asked to speak of in Saudi Arabia. No bones about it. The effect of chewing on cognition in dogs. Dogs that chewed more frequently showed improved spatial working memory, especially in highly fearful dogs. And that kind of makes sense. You bite your fingernails, pigs need something to chew on. Everybody needs to chew when they're stressing. Parrots will harm themselves. Here's another one. Chewing behavior in dogs, a survey-based exploratory study. A survey of 1,400 dog owners found that chewing on hard materials, edibles like bones, was strongly associated with, why did that change to something else? Was strongly associated with context of negative emotional states, coping mechanism. And there's two more studies. Chewing reduced stereotypic behaviors, e.g. pacing, and increased calm behaviors in dogs in pounds. It doesn't dramatically alter cortisol levels. The effects of feeding raw. These are all in the last 3 years, guys. 3 years, not 3. The effect of feeding raw bones on behavior. Dogs given
How many fingers am I holding?
3. Oh, I need a rest. Dogs given calf horns showed increased activity and engagement. No, I don't know. I'm sure he had more to say about that. But I just thought that's cool. Last 3 or 4 years, people are putting out studies. We need to get one or two of them on the show.
But isn't that just sort of like reiterates the improvements that you can make through parasympathetic stimulation? And actually, all of that thing to calm down fear, to improve cognizance, all of that is if you can get your dog to move out of sympathetic stressors into parasympathetic, calm, restore, mend, and ultimately, rest and recuperate. That's what your parasympathetics do. So, of course, it's going to improve all sorts of other benefits if you can get to do that. And so activating that normal behavior is really, really important when it comes to that.
Yeah, behavioral enrichment. We would do it for zoo animals, even just lying down and resting and just chewing a bone, if you're Dudley. So you're just not walking around in circles all the time. It's like, oh, I'm just going to sit and eat this bone. So like you can just see it's in the one of the only times he'll lie out in the garden and relax, because I'm not out in the garden relaxing, so he's not going to be there. But if I was, he might. He loves it when I'm there, but he can't do it by himself. But if he has a bone, and a belly full of bone, he'll lie down in the sun then, and he'll take it easy. That's so good. It's as important for them as it is for us. I love that bone bit that he did. It was very good.
Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah.
And then what else did we do?
Farmer Andre. Oh my God. Nick would love to be here talking about it. Me, Bren, and Anna went off to do a bit
Farmer
of
Angus.
Farmer Angus. What did I call?
Did you say Andre?
Farmer Andre. There's probably a farmer Andre.
Yeah, there probably is. He's currently
in France.
In Spain.
Spain, maybe. Or a French name.
Yeah, or French.
Farming garlic or whatever stereotype you can put in the French. Wine, grapes. Brie. Can you farm brie? Yeah, whatever. But so Farmer Andre. No, what's his name again? Angus. He's Scottish. That's being a double murder.
Is it Angus Mc?
Angus Mc. Angus McHamish.
McDonald or
Yeah.
something.
Sorry, Angus. I'm safe in the
I'm
knowledge.
sorry to all the Scots out there that are
Yeah,
currently watching.
we haven't prepared anything for tonight, and this is just and we're sober. We're not. This is we are taking this show
Honest.
seriously.
And we don't have the pressure of 15 buffalo
Yeah,
just 2 yards behind
yeah.
us.
That was crazy. Lads, do me a
It
favor,
was.
don't step on the grass. I was like, oh, okay, happy not to do that.
Yeah.
Happy to sit inside this very flimsy wooden hut and just assume I'm safe. A hippo's fart could have blown over the front. That baby hippo was gorgeous, wasn't she?
Oh,
Bloody hell, looked
bless.
like something out of a
Oh,
cartoon.
I've got to post a picture of Anna talking to the rhinos over a stone wall, which was,
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
frankly, 4 foot. And you were thinking,
yeah.
there's no way.
No, this like I wouldn't be able to rescue her. If she went over the other side, that's it. She's gone.
Yeah.
You know?
Or if the rhino just pushed,
Yeah.
she'd be gone.
Yeah, there's a bit of
Anyway.
blustering out of them. There was a little bit of kind of blustering, but most of the time when they're walking around, you can't even hear them walking. It's like
No.
the little soft little feet. I'm not just made a sound there. There's no point because there was no sound when he did it. There was no sound of his feet. I was trying to make a light sound that you can't hear. Oh, jeez,
Oh.
this is unbearable.
This
Oh,
is
it's
why
not
I was
happening.
suggesting we had a rest tonight.
So, yeah, that's what your wife says. Do you not think you should have a rest? No, I'm fine. Everything's fine.
We're fine. We're fine.
Uh,
Only slightly hyped on
yeah.
jet
Anyway,
lag.
Farmer Angus. Okay, Nick would love to be talking about this, but he's not here, so he can't. But Farmer Angus is another regen farm, and that's where Nick went to go when we all went to see the animals. Nick's obsession is regen farms, and so he went off to meet a number of different places from Stellenbosch and all sorts of places, and he met the top of the top. But Farmer Angus was so cool. This Scottish guy who used to work in Goldman Sachs and had this career change, and he was told, listen, you can go over to Japan with your family and live there and do your Goldman Sachs thing. And it would have been very profitable for him, but he just had to make a decision at some stage. He's like, no, do you know what? I need to get out of this and get in touch with the land. And next thing you know, he starts farming. And he's like, for anybody that knows me and all my friends, he thought 13 years ago when he started, it would have been a crazy thing for me to do. But now when you go to his farm, it's so impressive, isn't it? I mean, even the chickens, Brad. I mean, you do a bit of farming. I mean, how did it stand out to you?
Oh, I mean, look, the just the amount of work. I mean, that's one advantage in South Africa. They can put, they've got, was it 48% unemployment? It was like
in
ridiculously high.
Johannesburg.
And they were offering people jobs, but they're moving animals almost on a 4 times a day basis.
Yeah, crazy
which
workload.
is, crazy workload, but it allows them to effectively not overgraze land, to effectively have this opportunity to really work animals through a pasture and to increase the carbon capture within that pasture, and at the same time, be feeding them, enriching their lives. None of this mythical, they're effectively extensively reared, and they've basically got a small hatch the size of a chicken to get 1,000 birds out of a barn on a cold day.
Yeah.
And like if you're lucky, 3 birds go out, but they call it extensively reared purely on the basis that they've got access to outside. But no self-respecting chicken is going to chill out outdoors in the exposed open air to hawks and everything else.
Yeah, you're not going out.
So they all stay indoors. But their system was really designed around getting out on pasture. They feed them out on the pasture. They all come out. They go back in the hut to lay eggs. They've basically got about 5 in a field of these egg
mobiles,
sort of mobiles that they are basically dragging a trailer up the field.
Trailer with an enormous chicken coop on the back, essentially, where they lay their eggs.
And a grill underneath, but they all get out. They all start clucking around. They're all joining us around our feet.
In the
they
field,
have
picking all the ticks.
Mineral access mineral licks. He took away a recommendation about putting bone mineral
Yeah,
material
you
in
like
there
that.
rather than a sort of calcium carbonate, just to help with the eggs and that side of things, be a little bit better for them. They have a seaweed, which probably was partly for the parasite loads and stuff like that, I guess,
Who knows? Yeah,
alongside a few other minerals that they would get in that system.
yeah,
They still used a pelleted feed, which was non-GM, but
yeah,
they did have access to lots of other options. They tried soldier fly
yeah.
larvae, but they said they were just slightly too fatty, and they used to gum up
Ugh,
the
gross.
dispensers. So they even tried defatted larvae.
They
This is
defatted
just
them
like,
themselves. They just ran over them in a steamroller, and then all the goo came off, and then they used the drier insect meal in their meal. But
uh,
it's like they have all this insect fat. Imagine anything worse. They're going to sell that as oil soon. Bill Gates will be selling that
oh
in a few
god!
weeks. What you see,
I
Bill's
mean,
bug fat.
you just think if you could just not scatter the larvae or something like that.
Yeah, why can't you do that? Just
You
dehydrate them a
think,
little bit and kill
oh,
them off.
who knows? Who
Zap them
knows?
with a bit of heat, and then off they go.
Yeah,
Carbon
you just
dioxide them. Feed them fresh. You know what I mean? Feed them raw.
put them
Or
in a bit of lactic acid just to
yeah,
stop any bugs
yeah.
growing.
Or you could just tie their legs together so they couldn't run away and then just throw them out in the grass so they're still alive. You have to think of these things, Farmer Angus. Yeah,
That'll keep a few people occupied.
yeah,
What's your
totally.
job?
Yeah,
Tying flies' legs together.
yeah. Pritt stick or something. Edible Pritt stick. Meat glue. I just heard there's such a thing as meat glue. And you can just anyway, many ideas. I just don't think he's thinking about these things.
Dip them all into the sort of glutinous mass that you get after
Yeah.
boiling cows down.
Yeah, I bet you dry pet food has a number of different materials you'd be able to gloop up insects with. But I just love the fact that the eggmobiles would be pulled up the field and they'd move 10 meters at a time, 15, 20 meters at a time. And every day the girls wake up and they pop out and it's just out into the grass, out into the wild, and no predation
Yeah.
to speak of.
No, they sort of keep predators away because there's so many workers around the fields, and it's rather than them needing to have
Okay.
an armed guard, it's just
Ah,
the fact that there's people around doing
right.
stuff
Okay.
that
Yeah.
generally the predators that is it caracals, the small sort of lynx
Caracals would
like
do a lot of damage.
cats that
Yeah.
were mainly damaging, but they're not really that confident about coming around humans. So if
Yeah.
there's humans working
Yeah.
around the fields,
Yeah.
um,
And
even if they have irrigation stuff going, so they. Did you get slightly wet the first time?
yeah, that wasn't funny, Bren. I was on the back of the truck, everybody. And then you could just hear Angus was driving and the two lads were up the front and you could hear, "Hoo," and then Angus was stopping. I didn't know what was going on. And then Angus decided, oh, we'll just go. And then these enormous sprinklers were on. So we all just got soaked in the back of the pickup.
It's a warm day. You
It was
needed
more,
cooling off.
absolutely. And I appreciate you just giving me the cooling off without me asking for it because I might have needed it later on. So I get to spend the next hour heating up, which was nice in South Africa in the sun. So yeah, I didn't know chickens graze grass, but like you could see every 20 minutes, you look back at the grass. He goes, look behind you and look ahead of you. Look at the state of the grass after the chickens are done
Mm.
with. They eat everything, every bug. But then after the chickens come the cows, and they have nice bug-free grass to be walking through. And the cows, I love the way the cows had a protection donkey with them, one or two donkeys for
Yeah,
protection.
yeah. So apparently they shout like crazy when any
No
predators
way.
come near. Yeah, so they just basically they're almost like alarm donkeys.
Yeah,
Just like
that's so cool. Alarm donkeys.
it's like, can you imagine? Of all the
Oh,
reasons to have donkeys in the field,
yeah.
it's just like. But they've tried a few things, haven't they? That they were talking about. Some of them failed, like the dog. They had a protection dog for the chickens.
Oh, what was it? It was a Turkish. What was it? Who's the big lad that protects the sheep? Oh, I
Begins with
can't.
an M.
Yeah, no, I can't remember.
Anyway,
Yeah.
they had one of these dogs that they bought in for absolutely thousands of pounds as a pup to try and train to just be with the chickens. And it was great for a few months. He was kept sort of running off and going to the local hotel and playing with all of the people that thought he was really cute.
Eating the
Um,
chickens. I think
and
that was the
then
major problem with him.
yes,
His
he
penchant for
then
chicken was the
managed
problem.
to he managed to get a taste for chicken,
Yeah.
and he decides to eat one.
Yeah, I think he got a
And
second one
Farmer
when he went in.
Angus was like
Yeah.
absolutely mortified. And
Yeah.
then he sort of like a week later, he got a second one.
Yeah.
And, one of the training techniques is to, effectively tie it to their collar and keep it on. And it was just like, no, it didn't
No,
work. He
no,
ended up
nobody needs to hear
walking
these
into the
techniques.
hotel
Yeah,
with
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 chicken
this
on.
chicken on.
There's a dog with a chicken on.
And at that point, that was the end.
Not
They
good.
couldn't.
That
They
was,
couldn't. He's now a lovely pet in Cape Town,
yeah,
enjoying his life
chicken probably,
because
I'd say, every night for dinner.
because he's just there is no way
Not wearing it,
that
eating it. Yeah. And so it was just, and with the cows, with the chickens, he had the calcium carbonate. We drove past a huge pile of bones because they make broth on the farm. We said, here, you use those bones as your calcium carbonate. But when you got to the cows, they had 14 different things on offer, from bentonite clay, zeolite clay. They had different type. They had a seaweed. They had calcium, and then they had all their different minerals as well. So the cows can take whatever mineral they need at a time, and a huge amount of work to move them all the time, and the noise off the cows because they know they're about to move into a new field. And the other field looked perfectly good. They were standing in. It looked like there was plenty to eat. But when you see the other field, there's lots of different plants in the field, and they rush out and they pick their favorite plant. They will move. They know exactly what they want, and so you would look at what was left of the grass, and most farmers in South Africa would kill to have the grass he left behind. But even his figures, the carbon figure you mentioned, you don't understand that. Like okay, we know about soils needing minerals, and then these minerals are constantly just annihilated by, if you do monocrop agriculture, like what Bill Gates is doing, the largest private landowner in Europe, in the US, and you just constantly grow the same crop, which is substitute with NPK fertilizer. All you're doing is replacing the NPK. You're not replacing the iodine. You're not replacing the selenium. You're not replacing all the antioxidants and all the incredible stuff. And then you tillage the shit out of the land and destroy all the microbiological communities underneath. And then you NPK, pesticides, herbicides. That's what that farming does to produce these ridiculous things in a plastic box and call it food. So that sort of stuff is deleterious. It takes away from the soil, but particularly, which I never really considered, there's carbon in the soil. And I thought plants just took all the carbon from the atmosphere that they need. I said, no, roots take a lot of carbon from the soil as well, particularly when the plant is growing. And so huge amounts of carbon come from the soil. So like on average, a good soil might have 10, 12, 14, 16% carbon inside it per fistful of soil. And he said most Western soils are down to 1.5, 2.5% carbon, like utterly depleted. Like this is when they give you this figure that there's 30, 40, 50 cycles of crop left. That's what you're talking about. And there's no way to get that carbon back into the soil unless you use ruminant poo. How else are you going to get carbon back into the soil? They're not supplementing with carbon as much as they'd like to. This is where the carbon is sequestered. So what Farmer Angus can do is, by passing the ruminants over and then pooing into the soil, his soils are accumulating carbon. So he's taken what were completely over-farmed, ruined soils, turned them from 1.5 to say 3.5% carbon at the moment. And so he gets carbon credits. He's pulling carbon from the atmosphere, and then he gets carbon credits, which is good for his farm. So it just shows that people don't understand when you're incriminating cow farts and all this utter nonsense. How did we come out of the Stone Age 10,000 years ago? Whose farts were we blaming? Like it is such horse. But like we don't need to get to the whole carbon thing because there's still people out there that are very much on the train. But the fact is, that's where the carbon comes from in your soil. So, if you're going to keep on promoting monocrop agriculture, you need to start chatting to the people selling you those products and go, what's the plan in 20 years to get the crop? You want to think you're going to replace that with seaweed meal? Do you know how much carbon is?
And the only reason that you've got these fertile plains of America is because for absolutely thousands of years, you had huge prairie grasses grazed by huge ruminants,
millions,
that were literally munching through and then passing out the digested material that then the dung beetles were taking down meters into the earth,
into the soil.
And this feels like an episode of Rainbow with you suddenly doing
yeah
come on, just let's keep it
it's
slightly real. So
and
they will get up to 20%. So it's possible to get up to 20% carbon trapped in your soils. So he's still working. He's still saying you can go even better with this. And what happens when you increase the level of carbon in the soil? You actually also increase the amount of moisture retention within the soil. And that means that you end up stopping the flood risks downstream. You stop the drought being so prevalent because your soil would be more resilient to getting dried out. You've got much better grasslands.
yeah.
Ultimately, you're able to
Less
keep your
need,
cows.
less need of irrigation,
Yeah,
so
and
more water
yeah.
for the people.
And so he was getting, effectively 3 times
That was
the
unbelievable.
amount of beef
The amount
off
of
the
meat.
land than somebody who doesn't do this sort of regenerative farming.
3 times he's got more people at work, so he's got
Yeah.
lots of people. That's way more people need to run than a monocrop agriculture farm, which is done by a single combine harvester or
Mm.
20 of them, depending on the size of your farm. Now he's just got people that need to move these animals around, and then you got to think about the how the pigs come into it and how the chickens come into it, and it's so lovely. And his eggs, while they're at a premium price, but he says I'm not the most expensive egg in the market, but he says I'm by far the best. Listen to this point he made. This is an absolute killer point by him. He predicts in the next 5 years, people will be buying food based on its nutrient content and not its price. They will
Mhm.
look at those eggs and go, shit quality egg full of omega 6, not enough omega 3, brilliant quality egg. And the nutrient profiles will move to the front. He's not
Mhm.
nutrient profiles, but nutrient density of your food. He says, you think your steak looks the same as my steak. My steak is completely different to your steak on a nutrient basis. So he says, pound for pound, we're not only producing way more meat per acre of land, but it's way more nutrient dense than the dirt and the welfare. When we
Mm.
talk about the health of the animals, can we not talk about what animals get out of it? It's just on every single level. Chickens running around pecking each other, not a single bit of mutilation on any of those chickens. Just
Yeah.
normal chickens doing normal things. It was just
And they are waiting for, when the mobile phone comes, you can literally go into the supermarket or the store or whatever and film the piece of material, and it will look at effectively what's coming off that and be able to tell you how nutrient dense it is.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
even trust the label. It's
yeah.
going to be,
Yeah,
scanned.
it'll begin with a barcode of the product or a QR code where it'll go to the company's website, and the websites will brag about what's in their eggs.
Mm.
It'll start that way, but he says it'll end up with you just scanning the food.
Yeah.
It's like and I totally believe it. That's exactly where it's going to go.
Mm.
People aren't joining the monocrop or agriculture revolution. They're not. They're going the opposite way.
They're
Much
leaving
like
it.
they're
Absolutely.
leaving it. It's so, and it's like he has a place. I'm sure he's producing good plant material and all that kind of stuff too. But his arguments were just unassailable. It was just like,
Mm.
we would reduce the amount of grain we would need to buy, because a lot of the grain we sell or we create goes into cattle. And
Mm.
so we would massively reduce. That's the best land we have. And we can massively reduce the amount of grain that we need to produce, because these cows will be growing on grass, and grass is free. It just keeps on coming. Doesn't need to be dirt. You just need to leave the ground alone and pass them in a regimental way around the farm. So, like, the amount of benefits was like, it's
And we
hard to
didn't even
believe.
we didn't even talk about one of the other benefits from those mineral licks, where the cows go in, and it wasn't just minerals. It was the bentonite clays, it was seaweeds, it
It
was
herbs or something.
herbs.
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
all sorts of options within there, and he just monitors which one they're taking. But he said the brilliant thing is, it's not just for their own health. What they then do is any excess gets pooped out the back end,
Ooh.
and they end up improving the pasture with the minerals that the pasture needs,
Oh,
because the cows are picking up what the pasture needs and then carrying on grazing and pooping out the excess, so that
oh.
as they go through, the pasture the next time is enriched, and they actually build all the mineral content back with the microbiome, so that the plants are uptaking the right minerals. They're going to need less of those minerals in the future. Becomes a wonderful cycle.
Oh, bloody hell. I love that.
And that's
Yeah.
just like, he just can't believe that people just aren't getting
Yeah.
into this in a big
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
But
They like it's slowly happening. And I think everybody listening to the show wants good quality food. I mean, he says, look, we're obsessed about spending 10% of our budget on food. It used to be 40, 50%. He says
mm,
it will go back there. People are strapped at the moment, and, there's going to be a massive recession coming up, I'd say.
yeah.
But so it's very hard to turn around and tell people you should be buying regen beef and that kind of stuff. But the fact that with enough people doing it, with the people that can afford to do it, by us doing it and making the right choices, you grow more of these farmers. You will farm farmers, because they will pop up and go, well, now I can increase my lot holding by 2, or my farmer beside me goes, do you know what? I'm going to give that a shot. But it can only do it if you can afford to pay the mortgage. And small farmers are getting absolutely stripped. They don't get the deal. The money's made by the supermarkets and all the dickheads making ultra processed food. But the farmers are not driving around in Porsches. You don't get into farming to drive a nice car. You know what I mean? No offense to farm. They are just work so hard. So we need to completely change. We need to make farmers rock stars, and we need to support them where we can. And it'll start with the people that can afford to do it. And as it grows, it'll become cheaper. We need to really put ultra processed food where it belongs, which is like, it's hideous and it's detrimental to the kids and it's and pets as well. So we've gone off on one there, but it definitely comes back to.
Yeah. And do you know what? And I love, when you go to the farm, you visit, there's a strap line put that actually we're all farmers by proxy.
Oh yeah, that was good.
All of us, that purchase food, may not believe it, but actually we rely on those guys on the ground to produce the food. You need to support them. So we should all be backing, better land management. We've got a future that's based around these guys surviving.
that's
Because,
a fact.
For all of the programs that are out there saying, isn't it wonderful? We've now got a new computerized combine harvester that can work on its own with nobody at the helm. And that's going to improve the profitability of this land by tenfold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a decade. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're paying so much to
then you're in Interstellar and everything's just, the dust is blowing over around your house and we're hoping to God Musk can get us to Mars. I mean, how ridiculous. You're on Heaven Here, dummy. What are you trying to leave it for some bloody arid shithole?
I think he's trying to invite a load of people off the planet so that there's actually there's less people.
Yeah. Hopefully all the
they'll start composting bodies on Mars.
We need more bodies. We need more people. We need more fertilizer. So yeah, that was a good time. I have to say, we only had him for an hour. Nick had him for half a day, and he was in absolutely great shape, ladies.
He was.
Oh God, that is how a 55-year-old man can look. He's just like, holy shit. I think his son is like Olympic team level Olympian. Yeah. Yeah. But I was just envious when I was walking around going, what a lovely life you have. Look how vital. Look at the work you're doing. It's so awesome. But it's.
Did you notice every time he was wandering around the fields, no shoes, barefoot. Perfectly happy.
Just chicken shit feet, just getting back into the car. I just thought, come on, dude, put on a pair of shoes. No, I loved it. He was just so normal.
So down to earth. He was.
And you could pick up the chickens. You could just pick up the chickens and hold them if you wanted to. They didn't give a damn. They just totally settled in your arm. Bony little fellas. There wasn't a whole heap of chicken breast meat on them, as he showed you.
Like him.
You can, You can turn them over, and he goes like, "Feel the breast meat." He goes, "Feel the breastbone." That's what a normal chicken's breastbone feels like. He says it's not a massive thing. These are healthy chickens. They can run away from things if they're chased. He says that's a normal chicken. So he says they're not food chickens.
They're little athletes.
They're little athletes, yeah, and picking all the insects and everything. I just thought it was great. And the poo, the amount of insects on a fresh cow poo is unbelievable, isn't it? I just, I suppose it's a normal thing. It's doing its work. Yeah.
So. Brilliant! Cool. Look, we've been an hour. We've not even done Nick's thing.
I can't see what the light in the
8 o'clock.
Bloody hell!
You see,
time to eat me steak.
Yeah.
I have
go on, tell everybody how you've been doing with your fasting.
Not bad. Before South Africa, I did a 3-day fast. Everybody, I'm going to tell you all about it. It was amazing. I felt so good. Everyone hates hearing that shit, but it really does work. And it was great. And I felt great getting into South Africa. And then I was drinking beers, and beers kind of bloat me pretty quick. Beers make me snore. I don't know. I'm lucky I had my own room the whole time, but now I'm back. So I told everybody I was going to do a 3-day fast, and I did nearly 2 days. But I brought back these dried meat things that South Africa have built on. Everyone has built on. Everyone has dried meat, but the South Africans are particularly proud of their ranges of this stuff. And bloody hell, it was so good. So I had a big pack of that the family were tucking into, and I was getting really nervous because they were eating it fast, and there wasn't a lot of it left. And so I started tucking into a stick then. I admitted to it straight. Rita just literally texted me straight away, "How's your fast going, Connor?" And I'm eating this meat stick. And I thought, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But I'm just going to
the
stay
other
neat.
side of the planet, and she could detect.
She just
that
knew.
you'd
She just
broken.
knew. Yeah. So Rietta's into day 3 now. So she's finishing day 3 in the next half a day. So she's probably in bed now. The lucky thing. So she'll wake up to a lovely 3-day fast done. But I'm just going to have a little bit of few eggs for brekkie and a bit of meat for dinner. That's what I was. That's what I'm going to do for the next 6 days, and hopefully that just gets rid of the damage of the carbs, the carby beers. They're so delicious. Bloody hell! Why are they so nice? It's not fair.
It's the addiction.
Fair. It is. That's very, very. It's a nice addiction to have, though. I think it's so far socially acceptable. So,
so far, yeah.
So for the moment, I'm hanging in there,
along with the wine.
And the wine, obviously. Wine, obviously. I mean, that just goes without saying.
All of these things that we shouldn't really be doing too much.
Anyway, I'm sure it was organic something in there. Yeah. Anyway, that was cool. Look, good stuff, Brent.
Yeah.
Enjoyed that.
Gonna let you get off to the kids.
Yes.
Nick, if you're watching this at some point,
definitely
you're not.
He's definitely not.
Yeah. No. Good luck on the toilet. Hopefully everything's okay.
Enjoy. Of the toilet papers in the fridge.
It'll be between the toilet and the Red Sea, feeding the fish.
Yeah. Gross. A lot of metaphors in there. Right, go on. I will. Right, we'll toddle on. We will do CBD at some stage this year, guys. So for any CBD heads there.
So we're not doing next week because you're away with the kids. Is that right? You're on Easter break.
Kill me if I do it next week, so I better not. Yeah,
you're on the Easter break.
Yeah,
so it'll probably be a break week next week, guys.
Bindi Boxer says alcohol is poison. No, you've been misled. That's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy against people that like listening to rock and roll. No, it's not a poison. I really hope it's not. It's just I've seen videos of monkeys eating fermented fruit to get drunk, guys. So that's a very natural thing.
Yeah. I loved your story about the dog that was Zoo Farmer eating the most concentrated THC CBD plants. And I was saying, at what point does that go from Zoo Farmer to addiction?
Just getting high. Yeah, this lady came up. I was doing a bit on the supplements and mentioned a bit about Zoo Farmer. And a girl came up to me after and she said that she farms all sorts of stuff, at the back garden. And the dogs get into the herbs now and again when they need them. It's interesting to watch what they eat. And I thought, this is interesting. She goes, it's particularly interesting with, I don't know how you feel about cannabis plants. And I said, I'm all for it. Absolutely. It sounds great. And she goes, yeah, it's just interesting. The dog with the pain goes for the plants with the highest THC content and eats them. And I'm like how much? She goes, she'll get at it. She goes, a couple of dogs will do it, but she will get at that plant. And I just thought, how interesting that she's got a range of plants. She knows like which one's the most potent. But she says, I put it as an experiment just to see, And so we know nothing. It's very, very interesting.
So we really need to do that program on CBD, and we will get around to it probably after Easter.
Yeah, we'll do it. It's coming. Sounds good.
Anyway,
all right.
Good to see you all, guys. I know it's a bit impromptu tonight. Anybody who's on catch up, have a great Easter. We'll catch you in the new year. No,
probably. I'll see what happens.
We'll release a few things. Nick's promised to record some stuff as well. So
cool.
Great to see you all. All good fun. Okay. See you soon.
Take it easy. See you soon, Brent.